What's going on, my friends? Welcome to episode 6 of the Get Your Game On podcast, bringing you the hot takes, latest stories, and spicy picks surrounding New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, national, and international sports. Hosted by yours truly, Adam Grassani, joined as always by Michael Cunningham, Alex Reich, David Heller, Chris Kern, and Marcellus Murdock. You can listen to the podcast right now on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Also, to be sure to follow us on Twitter at Get Your Game On P. Now, with all that said, it's time to get your game on.
Yeah, brother.
What's going on, everyone? How's everyone doing?
Good.
Truly blessed, my guy. Truly blessed.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
So, as you know, we always have to give out some programming information at the beginning of every show, and we have some big programming information right now. After missing 2 episodes due to a prior engagement, our man Chris Kern is back on the podcast.
Yeah, give some noise. Let's clap it up for Chris.
Oh, thank you
Chris,
guys. Glad to be back.
big man.
Big C.
Be good.
Chris, anything you have left? Anything you have to say?
I'm just excited to be back talking sports with you guys. It's gonna be a fun show.
Oh yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, with Chris's edition, unfortunately Marcellus couldn't be here due to an internship that he's working at. He recently got a really nice internship, but definitely Marcellus, if you're listening, go out there and kick butt and take names.
You know the vibes, Adam.
All right, so you guys ready to dive in?
Mm-hmm.
But before we dive in, we have a very, very special guest joining us. He covers the Eagles for Philly Sports Network. He's also a co-host on the Flippin' Birds pod. Alex, it's your so close to introduce our guest.
Okay. This is my close friend Bryan. He's been very close to the Eagles, as well as the Flippin' Boards podcast. And actually lately he got to interview Eagles linebacker Sean Bradley, which is a really cool episode he did. And I suggest you all to take a listen, and it's one of the best yet that they did, and I really liked it.
I appreciate that, Alex, and I appreciate you guys having me on for this one.
No problem. It's great to have you on. First,
No problem, brother.
I just gotta ask you right after that, what's it like, to be so deeply involved in covering like a big time sports team like the Eagles? You're running for them, you're hosting a podcast about them. What's it like to be able to cover like a team like that in depth?
It's fun. I mean, to be honest, it's a good time. At times, it does get a little stressful, but as long as you have everything kind of just all your ducks in a row when it comes to this kind of stuff, it just becomes fun to work at, I guess we would really say. We've interviewed the likes of Brian Dawkins, like Alex mentioned, Sean Bradley, Kayvon Wallace, and every time these guys come on the podcast, they always have a great time and just enjoy themselves because it's a laid back podcast where they could just relax and just have a beer with a couple guys.
I have a question for you, for you, B.
What's going on?
Who's your favorite Eagle player of all time and why?
My favorite Eagles player of all time has got to be Donovan McNabb. That's the first player I fell in love with. I mean, when I first watched football, it was the Eagles and Giants, and McNabb was just running all over the field and just tossing it. I mean, the first position you always fall in love with is usually quarterback. Throughout time, it's become, certain players like Miles Sanders is definitely one of my top 5 favorites. Brian Dawkins, players of that sort. I did love Terrell Owens' time in here. I felt like it was cut a little too short, but things happen, right?
Now, I have a question to ask. Were you there? Were you covering the team for the 2018 Super Bowl? And if so, what was that experience like? Like, even if you weren't covering, what was that experience like?
I actually was, and I actually started covering them afterwards. I joined Philly Sports Network right around after the Super Bowl. So I kind of was part of, the redemption season for Carson and things of that sort. So everything afterwards was what I covered. But 2017, it was just, a pure fandom experience. Just experiencing how the city was really vibing with the team and how everything was just clicking on all cylinders was phenomenal from a fan's perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Like the first Super Bowl in franchise history, like that's always special. I mean, when you're like
Mhm.
you're rooting for a team their whole life and they've never won a championship, and to finally be able to see them win that first championship, like I can't even imagine like what it's gonna feel like. And hopefully, I'll have that feeling soon with the Nets.
Yeah,
Oh, Nets
right.
fan. Wow.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I could go on about the Nets, but I'm not gonna do that. So to get into the Eagles, so far they've had like a quiet offseason. I mean, they made a couple moves, but so far it's been kind of quiet. You know, they've lost Deshaun Jackson, they lost Malik Jackson. So Daniel, I'm sorry, Brian. Brian, I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on the Eagles offseason?
It's gonna be a quiet offseason just for the fact that they're really strapped to the cap right now. They only have, I think, available $3 million, so they can't really do much. They can only get really low key moves. The Joe Flacco move was low key. Anthony Harris was probably the biggest steal for them that they could get. He's definitely gonna be a phenomenal safety for them going forward, especially at only 29 years old. Outside of that, I mean, Deshaun Jackson, Alshon, Malik, they had to go. It was, this team is on the cusp of getting younger and on the cusp of a retooling. With the draft coming up, it's a big question mark as to which direction they're going to go in. People feel like maybe it's Jalen Hurts. People feel like maybe it's a pick in the draft. But right now, this team is trying to find their identity under Nick Sirianni and under Howie Roseman, and they're trying to get out of the spotlight while deflecting everything that they possibly can at this point.
I have a question for you, for you, Mr. B.
What's going
What
on?
do you think about Carson Wentz being a good quarterback? And was it a good time to get rid of Nick Foles after the championship? Or
Go ahead.
my other question is, who you think is the greatest Eagle player in history? And do you think Andy Reid should never been fired?
All right, so let me try to keep up with that. So Carson Wentz, I think he's a phenomenal quarterback, phenomenal talent. I think he's going to succeed in Indianapolis. The thing about Carson is his upbringing was a little bit different than Philly culture, and I mean it's a lot for him to embrace, and it just got to a point where it's just he had to find a new place to reset. As far as Nick Foles, they needed to do that for the sake of at the time the commitment to Carson Wentz. Foles is not a starting caliber player in the NFL, in my opinion. He's never had a really good season outside of the Chip Kelly season. And what the other two questions was, who I think is the greatest Eagle of all time, right?
Yeah, the greatest Eagle of all time. And you do think Andy Reid should have never been fired for the Eagles?
Oh yeah, Andy Reid should have never definitely been fired. I mean, that was a impulse decision. Jeffrey Lurie, he has a bad track record of getting too involved with the team, which has been a big issue this offseason. And my greatest Eagle of all time. I mean, you got to give it to Brian Dawkins. I mean, the guy was probably top two safety during his time, and he wasn't number two at that either. He was a phenomenal player. I mean, on and off the field, everything he gave to the city was, literally blood, sweat, and tears. And to see a player pour that on every week for the team you got to put him up there, in my opinion, at least.
Going back to Carson Wentz, I wanted to ask you, can you go more in depth into why you think it didn't work out in Philadelphia and why you think he's going to succeed in Indianapolis?
So, from my understanding, don't quote me on this, but
we won't.
the culture in the locker room, it changed from 2017 to 2018. It was Carson's locker room from when he was drafted to even the Super Bowl season. People were really riding with him, but throughout his rehab, to get back to where he was, he alienated a lot of people. He was focused he was solely focused on his rehab that it threw him into, my opinion, in a corner. After that, it was battling the fact that he never got any weapons. I mean, Alshon was barely on the field. Deshaun was on the field for 1 or 2 games. The play calling was treacherous this season. It just didn't work out for a player of his caliber at his age right now, because the team couldn't really build around him the correct way. They were building around the 2017 season opposed to building around their franchise quarterback. And I think that's why Jalen Hurts is going to succeed, because this team is technically already built for him. The rookies last season, they really gravitated towards him. Even if you listen to the Flipping the Birds podcast this week, Sean Bradley even mentioned that the whole team themselves, they gravitated towards Jalen's leadership. The defense and offense, the defense was standing on the field just to watch Jalen Hurts play.
David, you had a question?
Can it be a question and a comment?
Go ahead.
So, I just want to tell that I describe this one of the greatest podcasts of Philly sports. Flipping Boards pod. It's one of the pods I described.
I appreciate that, David.
And my comment I want to say is that back when you talk about like Don McNabb and the older guys like from like 2000s, since like going back when I was a kid, like in the 2000s, I mean those guys were like one of my favorite players all time when I was a kid, like Donovan or T.O. or Weapon X.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot more. Like that's the reason I love football. Like my dad played football.
That's
and
awesome.
My grandpa coached and played, and my uncle played too. So football has been a heavy hitter sport that my family ever played. But I love the Birds. I'm lifelong forever Eagles fan.
That's phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, both Alex and David here are big Philly sports fans.
Yo, B, I got one question for you. To interrupt Adam. Chris, you have any questions? Alex, this is your guest, man. Alex, yeah, you're more involved, man. You brought him on the show. You ain't gonna ask him no questions.
Brian, what are your thoughts on Alex Singleton getting released?
Getting re-signed, I think it was necessary. Singleton had a phenomenal season. He didn't start towards the beginning, but towards the end, he ended up with 120 tackles to end the season. And the Eagles have a huge need at linebacker, but at the same time, they have what they need at linebacker already. It's just that the old scheme wasn't willing to develop these young players like Sean, like Davion, Alex, TJ, outcasting that scheme, in my opinion. But this season, you'll see more heavy linebacker play. I mean, from all these guys.
Yeah, I want to ask you really quick. What are your expectations for Jalen Hurts? Like as soon as he started, like he played pretty well the first couple of games, but then kind of like regressed towards the end. Like what are your expectations for him? Like going to like his first full season?
I expect him to be more than just a starting caliber QB. I expect him to at least be, I'll say top 15. Honestly, can't put too many expectations on him because we don't know what the offense is going to look like or who's going to be on the outside to receive the ball. But as long as everybody's healthy, I mean, as long as you have Travis Fulgham, as long as you get Hightower to actually progress opposed to regress, Hurts is going to be a stud, in my opinion. I truly feel like if you're comparing running quarterbacks, that he's better than Lamar Jackson in passing, and he's a little quicker than Lamar.
Ooh, I like the hot take there.
I mean,
yeah. I know I hot takes, but I like this guy.
But it's true. I mean, if you look at Jalen, like the way he moves, he's a smart player. Like he's very cerebral in everything he does. And in college, he had a completion percentage, if I'm not mistaken, like 70% in his last season. So I'm not too worried about how he's going to look. I truly feel like this team could be decent. I'm not going to say that they're going to win the NFCs, but they're going to be, a dangerous team going forward. That much I can say.
Anyone have any questions?
I got a couple. For you, what is your favorite football play for the NFL? What's your favorite type of Eagles play they run on the offense? Mine is the Philly special. I love the Philly.
That's a classic.
Better known as the running back pass is probably the greatest.
Funny story. I got to throw this out there. One time, like me and my friends were playing a game of like, touch football, and we ran playing. My friends called it the Grassani special.
That's awesome. I think one of my favorite plays was a very underrated play that nobody really talks about was the flea flicker against the Minnesota Vikings to Torrey Smith, what he called it at the tip of the end zone. I remember that at all?
I remember watching.
I didn't remember that.
When he ran against the Giants and scored that 78-yard touchdown.
Yes.
And he kept running in circles and circles. And my thing
also
is, Giants, I'll root for you. I hate the Giants and I hate the Eagles. I'm a Cowboy.
That I was waiting for you to mention that.
Dallas. Everybody knows I live and breathe.
All right.
A Dallas Cowboy
I was waiting for
fan.
you to mention that.
In my opinion, the NFC East is the most hardest division in the NFL history.
Absolutely. I believe that.
Historically, yeah, it's definitely like regressed in years, like cough last year. But historically, the NFC East has always been like a really solid division.
Most dominant division.
Absolutely.
And my question is, who you want the Eagles to draft in this year's draft?
I'm stuck between right now Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts. I don't think Chase will be at NFC. I don't think it'll last that long. But if he is, then that's my surefire pick. But if he's gone, then I think they have to go Kyle Pitts, and you convert Kyle Pitts to wide receiver because that's how good of a player he is. He can run great routes. He's crisp. He's clean. He can go up and grab the ball. I think he's gonna be a phenomenal talent.
All right, David, real quick, and then I'll ask one final, and then I'll wrap it up.
Yeah. My question is, what's your take on Eagles off season?
It is what it was going to be from the get. They were struggling to get under the cap. They finally got under the cap by releasing a lot of aging veterans, and I think they actually made a great move in signing Anthony Harris. He's a very underrated safety. He's a great in man coverage. Great. He'll be a great safety if they could lock him in for the next couple of years, depending on how he does, and as long as he stays injury free. As far as the Joe Flacco move, I'm still on the outs about that one, just because I know Flacco's ego doesn't really allow him to develop young players, and that's what the Eagles need right now for Jalen. So far, I mean, it's gonna be a bad offseason. It's not gonna be good until next offseason, to be honest, when they free up a lot more money. So at this point, you got to kind of take it for what it is, because they can't afford to really do anything.
All right, Brian, before we let you go, we're going to be talking about them later on the show. We're going to talk about my New York Giants. I really want to ask you quickly, like, what are your thoughts on the offseason for the Giants? So obviously they re-signed Leonard Williams, some big signs of Kenny Golladay and Adorre Jackson. What are your thoughts on the Giants offseason so far? Good
players, but I feel like they really overspent. Adorre to pay him $39 million over 3 years, to me, is wild money. For a player that barely played last season due to injury. Kenny Golladay is going to be a good player as long as he can stay healthy. Leonard Williams he's a phenomenal talent. I mean, he was a dog last season, even against the Eagles. But I truly feel like they overspent because they were desperate. David Gettleman, to me, is on the hot seat. He needs to make this team a playoff team sooner rather than later. But good pickups, but too much money.
So yeah, any final thoughts? Any final question? Any last minute? All right, Brian. We thank you for coming on. Thank you for giving us a lot of insight on the Eagles. You had a lot of great takes. It was just fun talking to you. I love talking. I'm a huge fan of the Talking Yanks podcast and how they get so involved with the Yankees. So it's great to talk to someone who has gets really involved, not just doesn't just report on them, but podcasting and interviews them, and gets I don't know how I'm gonna word this, but it's hard to just have a normal conversation with the players on the podcast. So really really out there working, and you're welcome back on the podcast anytime.
Yeah, I mean, just guys, you let me know whenever you guys want me on. I'll try my best to fit in my schedule. Alex knows how to reach to me. Sorry for the late response. It's been a hectic week, but whenever you guys want me to come back on, just say the word.
Yeah, Brian. You are now part of the Get Your Game On family. You can come on anytime, as long as you don't wear any Philly gear on here. That's our pet peeve of the show.
As long as you don't bring that Dallas Cowboys napkin that you have over there.
Michael, I'm sorry, you just got roasted. R.I.P. No come back in from that one, Michael.
I gotta give him a pound on that. Hey, the Blakey keeps speaking more that night, so I'll take it.
I mean, something has to, right? Even if it's trash, don't worry about it.
Okay. Even though I want to save it for a while. I want to save it for my bets. I want to talk trash about the Eagles.
All right.
We appreciate you on your show. Thanks for coming. I like him. He could dish it and take it. We like him.
Yeah, I
Thank
got
you
no
for coming
problem
on,
doing that,
Brian.
man. Thanks for having me on, guys. Have a good
No
night,
problem,
right?
brother.
Take
Have a
Take care.
Thank you.
well.
So that was Bryan Cameron. Again, does great work. You can catch him on Philly Sports Network and the Flippin' Birds podcast. So yeah, definitely go check him out. So now we're gonna move on to after Mike got roasted, after Mike took the heat, it's time for Michael to start bringing the heat. That's right. We're moving on to Mike's hot take. Michael, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, get your game on, fan crew. I was thinking about this hot take for a day and a half. What would it be? Patrick Mahomes being the face of the NFL? Maybe. Or Alex, Chris ever beat me in Madden? No. That David will ever beat my dad in the throwing contest in the football? Nah. It goes back to decision one. I think Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL. That is my hot take. Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL for this generation. He is the Kobe Bryant of the NFL. Here's why. Tom Brady, Adam, and Chris, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it real like a late period. Patrick Mahomes, this is his NFL. I was talking to me and my dad were talking about this the other day. How Mahomes is a great quarterback. You paying what, billions of dollars right now?
Yeah.
He's
He's making over 400 million.
About half a billion.
He may become a billionaire by the end of his career. That's how nice he is. Don't quote me on it, but who knows? I'm saying he's the best player in this Super Bowl, even though he had a shaky start in the Super Bowl. I think Brady was passing him the torch. When me and my dad saw him play in the 2020 Super Bowl that year, me and my dad were saying he was the greatest quarterback. Am I right or wrong, big guy? We were talking about that. We were saying he was the best quarterback to ever play the game. Let's see. His first year, he won Rookie of the Year. Second year in the league, he won MVP. Third year in the league, he won the Super Bowl MVP. Fourth year in the league, he went to the Super Bowl. Guys, that's an impressive hot start to do in the NFL. Nobody has had that hot spot since Brady. Right or wrong, Adam? Chris, you know more football than I do. But you guys say, he had 4 impressive years. Like, he's doing stuff that I wish I could do at his age as a quarterback. Let's see. You went to Texas Tech. You didn't do well. You were like, what, a 3rd or 4th round pick?
He was a first-round pick.
It was a 10th overall pick. He was picked 10th overall. It's not like it was picked 3rd or 4th round.
He was the 3rd quarterback. No, he was the second.
It was the second one taken.
Yeah, right before.
He was the first one taken. My bad. Let's see. He is basically the Brady of this generation. Remember how kids say, I want to be like Tom Brady? Kids are going to be like, I want to be like Patrick Mahomes. He's the new face of the NFL.
I agree. Chris, you want to have anything to say?
I would definitely say he's proven with the way he started that he's the face of the NFL right now. And you mentioned about it, he'll definitely be a billionaire after this contract with all the endorsements and stuff, assuming he stays healthy and stuff. But as of the guys currently in the NFL right now, I don't see anyone who could surpass him. It'll be interesting to see what Trevor Lawrence does, as well as we'll see other top quarterback prospects come about the next few years. But as of right now, Mahomes is clearly the face of the NFL, and he'll probably stay that way. But I do want to go back to one point. Michael, you mentioned how you thought that Super Bowl was kind of like Brady passing the torch, but I personally don't think that's the case just yet. I still think Brady's still coming for more, and it's going to be tough to beat him next year still. So Mahomes is going to have to bring it if he wants to get back on top.
Big man, I agree with you 100%, Big C. But I think you're my man, 50 grand, but I believe that he kind of passed down the torch because Brady, he has 4 or 5 years left in the tank. He's 43 years old, I believe, right, boys?
One quick thing. I don't think whenever I think Brady's at the point where he can't lead a Super Bowl team, I think he'll be done after that point.
I think
he's not competing for championships. I think he'll be done. Which I don't see for a couple of years.
He has a great team. Don't get me wrong, but in the NFL history, no other team has won back-to-back championships since Brady has. But here's the thing: we call that. But I think Mahomes is like, I'm not going to lose back-to-back years in the Super Bowl. But however, the runner-up team never makes it back to the Super Bowl ever again. You guys know that. They go off a year. Like, for example, when the not true. When the Birds beat the Patriots that year, the Patriots won the next year. Point is, guys, I'm saying this at the end of my hot take. Mahomes is the right here and right now of the NFL. This reminds me of the Kobe Bryant and LeBron in basketball. How a lot of Kobe Bryant fans, I was saying, Kobe didn't pass LeBron the torch until Kobe left the NBA. But people think LeBron had it since 2009, since 2010 and 2011. But Kobe was the best player from 2009 to 2013 in the league. But I'm saying this Super Bowl was surpassing the torch. But next year, Mahomes is going to win at least 7 championships by the end of his career, Chris.
Ooh.
Mark words, bro. He's going to have at least 7 championships.
I was about to ask both you and Chris that. Do you think there's any chance at all that Mahomes can even like be on the same tier of Tom Brady in terms of like overall greatness?
He will. Come on.
I say no. That's
Chris,
just
you my man.
I'm going on one point. So it's a fun discussion, and with how Mahomes
I think
is playing,
there's like
it's
a
definitely there,
slim
but
chance, but
that's
I don't
just
see it happening.
It's very, very slim. It's unrealistic expectations now.
I don't think it's
when you add in the
impossible
fact
though.
No, like it's
I don't
not
think it's
something
impossible,
like he's not
but I
thinking about it.
definitely
sure
think like it's a long shot.
like he's striving
I mean,
for that.
He has the
Because
talent to do it. I will say he
you gotta
has
think
the
about
talent.
Brady,
Yeah, he has the talent. It's just like
definitely.
it's just
talent.
the fact that like
talent.
winning a Super Bowl like is like so hard. I think
so hard.
winning a Super Bowl it's easily the hardest championship to win in all sports, in my opinion.
It is.
Oh,
Because
at least
I
professional.
say it's the NBA Finals. I gotta say the NBA Finals is hard.
disagree with that, but I feel like that
I
might
could
be
not
a
disagree.
topic, a discussion for a different time. Maybe.
Yeah,
That'll
be a different
episode,
take.
but that'll be a
Guys,
fun discussion.
viewers of this episode, of
Okay.
episode 6, that'll be a future episode around episode 13.
That'll be a future hot take for you, Michael. David, you have something to say?
Yeah, it's Mike's hot take. Mike, I definitely agree with what you said about your hot take, but I just feel like that when we were probably kids, like I don't know, like 2000s, Brady was always the face, but he's like just in football.
Honestly, big boy, I believe, in my opinion.
And I'm not finished, by the way. The reason is about this year and this decade, I mean a competition between Mahomes of the face.
What's this,
The
WWE?
franchise.
This isn't WWE have face of the face.
Because the reason I said that is because Tom Brady was all time the face, and going back to winning so many Super Bowl titles, just like the Lakers, they won a lot of NBA championship titles, and Yankees won a lot of 27 titles.
Brady is the most dominant football player to play in 3 different decades, Chris. I'll give him that. You've been playing in 3 different decades. Am I
Yeah,
right?
I give him that too.
He played in 3 different decades. Kobe played in 2 different decades. Kobe played in 2 decades, and my main man, even though I don't like him, Tom Brady played in 2 decades. I'm saying this. When you think of sports, you think of 5 great athletes, in my opinion. Boxing, you think of Muhammad Ali. Basketball, you think of Jordan. Football, you either think Brady or Montana. Baseball, you think of Babe Ruth or Derek Jeter. And 5, for hockey, you think of Wayne Gretzky. So,
Rest in peace, Walter Gretzky, by the way. Wayne's
Yeah.
dad.
and I'm saying, when you think of sports, you think of the 5 great athletes who changed the game for sports. I don't care what Walt Chamberlain says, Jordan was the greatest NBA player. That's enough of my hot take. Let's talk about the NFC East. All
right. So thank you for your hot take, Michael. You always brought the heat as always. So now we're gonna resume NFL free agency, and I've been waiting to talk to you about this. I gotta talk about my New York Giants making some moves. So, for those who haven't heard, like the Giants, on the last football episode we did, I told you they re-signed Leonard Williams to a what was it, 3 years, $63 million, I believe. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure those terms are accurate. And now after that, there were rumors at the time that the Giants are in on Kenny Golladay. They also visit Kenny Golladay, and well, you know what? They signed former Detroit Lions wide receiver Kenny Golladay to a 4-year, $72 million deal. And I think this is the move the Giants had to make because the Giants last year, even though they were a 6-10 team, which actually is an improvement compared to like previous years, but I think the reason why the Giants need to sign Kenny Golladay is they need to give Daniel Jones like as much help going to his 3rd year, because this is a big question for the Giants. They need to figure out if Daniel Jones is going to be their quarterback of the future, because in his first season, like he showed a lot of promise. He threw 24 touchdowns. Like he had a turnover issue, but still, like you look at his first year and he showed some flash. He showed some promise. Then in his second year, like for a variety of reasons, like offensive coordinator, a lack of weapons, like he regressed. Like he threw only 11 touchdowns last year, so like he definitely regressed. So this is the year where Giants need to know like if Daniel Jones is their quarterback. I think like getting like a top flight wide receiver will definitely help, because the Giants defense was great last season. That I believe their defense was ranked 9th in the NFL. The offense was ranked 2nd to last, so they definitely needed to improve their offense. So I definitely signing Kenny Golladay is going to go a long way in doing just that.
Adam, I know you're happy about this, brother.
Oh, I'm thrilled.
Enough is enough for Daniel Jones. You know what I mean? They had huge high hopes for him. But I'm saying this. Do I think he'll be a great quarterback? I don't think so. And my friend who's a Giants fan, who's another Giant fan, he said Daniel Jones is an overrated quarterback. Overhyped quarterback. But
how is he overrated?
He isn't the worst quarterback in NFC. He isn't the worst quarterback in the NFL. I'm just saying, only way he'll be good if he can lead the Giants to the playoffs. Because the quarterback, you're the main guy of the locker room. Right or wrong, Big Chris?
He's definitely a lot of good points, but I don't think. Well, I think it's something we'll get to later, but I don't think. Like he has to have a big year, obviously, but I still think he has some time.
I don't know about that, Chris. Like, cause I think this is the year because we're seeing it like in the NFL. Like quarterbacks like used to get like 4 to 5 years. Like you don't see that anymore. You see quarterbacks like most of the time they usually get 2, 3, like 4 years if you're lucky. Like usually, but most of the time you usually get 2 or 3 years. Look at Josh Rosen; he only got 1 year. So teams are like coming down hard. If they don't like what they see in like a young quarterback, like they won't hesitate to move on. So I think this is definitely gonna be a big year for Daniel Jones to cement himself as the guy. Because if he struggles again, Giants are definitely got to say themselves like we might have to find ourselves a new quarterback. But also the Giants also made a big move. They also signed quarterback Adorre Jackson. So the Giants definitely had a big offseason, and I have to like give a lot of credit to a man who you guys know I am not a fan of him. I have been very critical of him. Dave Gilman has done a great job past 2 off seasons. Like from signing James Bradbury, who turned out to be like a Pro Bowl quarterback, to signing Blake Martinez, who turned out to be like a really good linebacker. And now he lands like a legit number 1 wide receiver in Kenny Golladay, and he also adds Adorre Jackson as a second corner. You gotta give Dave Gilman a lot of credit. Like I've never been a big fan of him. I've called for his head up a lot of times when he's made some, in my opinion, really stupid moves. Which he definitely, I could still nitpick here and there of a couple moves Dave Gilman makes, but overall, like I think the good moves that Dave Gilman has made has definitely like outweighed the bad. I also gotta give a lot of credit to one man who I think I'm gonna ask you all guys a question. I think this is the man that is like been like who has contributed most to like the Giants like turning their culture around. Joe Judge.
I definitely agree with that. I think there was a lot of question marks when he was hired. I feel like from the media, but I feel like he did a lot of good things last season, and it seemed like the team really bought in, and you
Yeah.
can kind of see that with
You
the
got
signings he
so
did with
many
Jackson.
good vibes around Joe
It's
Judge,
just-
like from previous years, because all you have to do, like from previous coaches of Ben McAdoo and Pat Shurmur, to get understand how bad they were, all you had to do was just open up like a press conference and you would listen to this, you'd be like, this is the most boring like stuff I've ever heard in my life. Like they did little to nothing to like inspire the team. They weren't like good enough leaders. Definitely Ben McAdoo and to a lesser extent like Pat Shurmur, like they just weren't like the guys necessary to be like they weren't like they didn't have the stuff to be like the leader of the franchise, like to be able to like galvanize all the troops. When you look at Joe Judge, like everyone thought like coming in that he was gonna be like a poor man's Bill Belichick. It was like gonna be like this hard nosed like blue collar type of coach. Which he definitely like is definitely a very strict coach, but he's also a very human coach too. Like I'm sure you guys all saw the video of like in practice where Joe Judge like dove in the mud to like get a fumble and all of his players went nuts. Like you can see like the relationship that Joe Judge is able to form with his players. Like I remember one time like him and Evan Ingram like had a friendly bet. Like he's able to connect with his players, and that definitely like that doesn't go unnoticed in the NFL. Like you saw, I believe, when both Adorre Jackson and Kenny Golladay had their press conference, they mentioned how Joe Judge was a major factor in them signing. So it's definitely a rough couple of years for the Giants. Like, but I think like I saw a tweet from I forget the account, but they mentioned the day the Giants hired Joe Judge. I think that was the day that they finally started to turn their franchise around.
Definitely agree with that. I just feel like we kind of discussed it, but the culture has just been different since that time.
Definitely, David.
I just want to say that going back to what you said about like the Giants, like it's going to be an interesting year just because they're in a rebuilding process, and it's been a while that they have been.
Though, I hate to
have
interrupt.
been good.
I hate to interrupt you, David, but you said the Giants are in a rebuilding process. I think this upcoming year, I think is the year where they gotta like at least at the very least compete for a playoff spot. You can't go like no more double digit loss season. You can't like finish 6-10. You can't finish 5-11. You can't like continuously like have double digit these seasons. Like this is the year that the Giants for them to be like a 9-10, like 8, like some kind of like around that range team, like a team that at the very least is either A, making the playoffs, or B, like is like right on the brink of making the playoffs. And no, last year doesn't count because they were in like a trash division.
Well, can I say something? So, if you said Daniel Jones is a star quarterback, the guy that like
I didn't say it was a star. I never said that.
no, not a star. I mean like I know he was a rookie before, but as a quarterback, they got like about like they're trying to what am I trying to say, like build around Daniel Jones.
Yeah,
Like,
I said that.
You got so many guys coming from the draft from colleges or something. Like these guys, some of them are like some heavy hitters or some are not, just because it depends on their size, and it takes a lot of work.
I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree with you that there, David. It's very important to surround your quarterback with weapons because here's the thing. I'm gonna compare us like Michael. You're a Jets fan, so I'm gonna make this. I was saying you should be able to relate a lot to it. Sam Darnold, like the Jets, still don't know what they have in Sam Darnold because pretty much in any other circumstance you would look at a quarterback who's has like underwhelmed as much as Sam Darnold, you would assume like okay they're like a bust, but you can't do it on Sam Darnold because of how badly the Jets have like failed to like put like a good supporting cast around him. They've done him absolutely no favors. If anything, I think they've done way more harm than good. Like, and absolutely the key true that is Adam Gase. Like I think we all can agree like Adam Gase is like an atrocious. He's not a bad head coach. He's an atrocious head coach. Like, and that's the one thing. Like, a quarterback, a young quarterback, you can expect to overcome like a bad offensive line. You can expect them to overcome like a lack of wide receivers. The one thing a quarterback, especially like a young one, like the one thing 99% of quarterbacks can't overcome is like that level of bad coaching. When you have that bad of a coach, like it's like next to impossible for your quarterback to really reach his full potential. So and getting back to that, like the difference between the Giants and the Jets is like the year 3, the Giants are pretty much going to know if Daniel Jones is their guy. They got a great head coach in Joe Judge. They got a lot of weapons. Like obviously Kenny Golladay is your number 1, but you still got a lot of great weapons. Saquon Barkley's coming back healthy. You still got guys like Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard. Those are 2 like they might not be number 1 type of wide receivers, but they're great like number 2, number 3 options. So like and the offensive line, like it's definitely been suspect, but it's definitely improving. Like you saw how like once the Giants fired the offensive line coach, Andrew Thomas, who's been struggling up to that point, he took like the next step. Like you're getting Nate Soldier back, who's not great, but he's like he's at least adequate, he's at least serviceable, and I definitely think like the offensive line should be improved. So year 3, this is it for Daniel Jones. There's no more excuses. It's time to see what if Daniel Jones is the guy for this franchise moving forward.
I mean the spotlight.
Yeah,
of the
definitely.
Giants.
Alex, you want to say something?
Yeah. I mean, as a Giants fan perspective, I guess that you just hope that there's no really deep injuries on the offensive side, because let's say if Saquon goes down, then you guys have like a bad group of running backs to go with.
They got some nice depth of running back though. You got Wayne Gallman. You got even though I didn't like the sign, they signed I forget who they signed again. Who's the running back they signed? I don't know, but they've got some nice depth at running back though. So, but I definitely but the point you make about injuries, yeah, I definitely agree. Like especially Daniel Jones, like because all this goes out the window if Daniel Jones like is hurt, which I really hope he does. I was like, but here's the thing: assuming Daniel Jones stay healthy, I wanted to ask you guys this: as far as expectations for Daniel Jones, assuming Daniel Jones stays healthy and plays, I don't know, at least 14, 15 games, I think like 4,000 passing yards and 30 touchdowns, I think are reasonable expectations for him. You guys agree?
That sounds about right. Yeah.
So that would be like it wouldn't necessarily be bona fide top 10, but it would be borderline. It would be like at least be in the conversation for top 10.
Yeah.
At least be in the conversation, be in that like top 12, like just be in the mix. That's really like all we can really expect of Daniel Jones.
Yeah, it'd be good. That sounds about right. There was because 12 quarterbacks over 4,000 last year. So if he's right about that number, I think that'd be a good spot. It'd be a good improvement.
Yeah, definitely. Alex, David.
I want to say that going back what you said about like Saquon and but Alex said about Saquon and injuries and stuff. I don't give my man Saquon a shout out. Like my friend Jake Cooper, he used to play for Penn State. He used to play with Saquon when he played football with him. And I heard him good things about Saquon. He works out. He has a great hands. Whatever you put him on the spotlight, he will run the ball and give you a touchdown. Like he has a lot of spotlight. There's a lot of players who need the spotlight besides him.
Honestly, 100%.
Yeah.
Here's where I agree.
I want to touch one more thing on the Giants, and then we'll get to our bets. One more thing about the Giants and their signs is it opens up so much possibilities for the 11th overall pick. Because let's say, for example, if the Giants didn't get Kenny Golladay, like that would have been an indicator that they're taking a wide receiver at 11, and that's definitely like you don't want to be sending those blatant signals out because if teams know that you're taking a wide receiver, like all three of the top wide receivers of this draft, Smith, Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, and Jalen Waddle. There's like a decent chance that all three of them could have been gone like by the Giants 11th pick, and then they would have had nothing. But now that they have like their number one wide receiver, and they also address like their number 2 quarterback, it opens up so many possibilities for them with the 11th overall pick, depending like how the board falls. Like they still have some, even though their defense is much improved, they still have holes like at linebacker and at the edge rusher. So if they want to take a chance on a guy like Parsons or Gregory Rousseau or a different like type of edge rusher, they could do that. Like if they want to trade back and get an edge rusher, they could do that. If like let's say like by a miracle Devontae Smith falls to them, like that's definitely like a no-brainer pick. Like if they want to go and grab like a Kyle Pitts, like they could do that. Like there's so many possibilities for the Giants, like with the 11th overall pick that they've created like from their free agency signings.
Definitely a good point. Definitely a good point for that. You kind of talked about the draft a little bit. Do you have any, if we have time real quick, do you have any like players that we're locked into?
Players that I'm locked into. I've been locked into a couple. Like obviously, I've been locked into like Micah Parsons. So I mentioned the linebacker from Penn State. There are some concerns about like his character, about stuff that he was involved in. But I really like have right now. It's just allegations, so I don't know how much or how little stock to put in that. I mean, I take all stuff. I mean, I do take like character stuff seriously when evaluating a prospect, but I don't know how much. But I just can't really I don't know too much about the situation, so I can't really investigate on that. There are also some edge rushers that I've been invested in. I forget his name, but there's also another edge rusher from Penn State that's been getting a lot of traction. Also, I forgot to mention I forget his first name, but Swell, the offensive tackle from Oregon. I think there's no chance like he slips to 11, but if he slips to 11, like that's a no-brainer pick for them. There's also another offensive tackle that I forget his name, but that would be a good pick at 11. I think if I were the Giants, I would just wait to see like how like the board falls. If all the major prospects like that were, if all like the big time prospects like are gone, that I would look to trade back. But if not, like I would But if one of if, let's say like the Devontae Smith falls, like that's a no-brainer in my opinion. Like if Swell falls, that's a no-brainer. If Pitts falls, it's a no-brainer. Like other than those three guys, though, like I would like them to like trade back and grab like an offensive lineman, or an edge rusher. Like I hope the first two picks. I will say this: I hope one of the first two picks with the first round and second round. I hope at least one of those is like that edge like pass rusher, because that's really the last piece this defense needs to really split themselves as like a top 5 defense. All right, Michael Sexy, like we're running a long time. All right, so
we can't bore our viewers now.
All right. So again, we're running out of time, so it's time to move on to everyone's favorite segment of the show, our bets of the week. So to quickly recap last week, guys, we went 5-1 in our bets. So let me just go over the bets. Like I had the Clippers over the Hawks on the spread. Like the Hawks were winning for the majority of the game, so I was thinking to myself, "Oh man, I'm about to go 1-4. I'm about to be doomed." The Clippers came back and they won by 9 points. So I was so thrilled for that they covered. So I improved to 2-3. David had Michigan over LSU on the spread. Like he got a W there. Chris had Oregon over Iowa on the money line. He got a W. Chris is now 3-2. David's also 3-2 as well. Alex, both me and you have been hot. Both of you, Alex had Corey is put over 14 points, and he got that. So now both me and Alex have won our last 2 straight bets, and we're both 2-3. Awesome, man. Michael had the Jazz over the Bulls on the spread. He got that. He's now 3-2. And Marcellus, his first bet, he actually went against me. He was the only one to take an L last week. He had the Hawks over the Clippers on the spread. And as you mentioned before, the Hawks weren't able to cover that. And so he took an L. Marcellus is now 0-1. So
Speaking of my cousin, he said that he wants me to pick his bet. I just spoke to him. He wants me to pick his bet for it.
all right, so you're gonna pick his bet for him.
Oh, he just texted me. He said,
He's going to listen to this episode later.
We're gonna save that for last. Like we're definitely.
I'm gonna do my 2 picks last. I'm gonna do my 2 picks last.
All right, so I mean, I'm gonna go first, and I was really thinking for this one because I was looking at and I'm like, I ain't really fall in love with anything. There are a couple that interested me, but I didn't really fall in love with anything, and in both the NHL and the NBA. So I decided I'm gonna go back to the tournament. I'm gonna go back to March Madness, and I'm gonna go with Baylor over Villanova on the spread. Baylor is currently favored by 7.5. Like, if you look at Baylor, their past couple of games, they won fairly easily. They won by 13 points against Wisconsin. They won by 24 points against Horford. So they've been outscoring their opponents and winning by fairly decent margins. And you look at Villanova, they're not the same Villanova Wildcats that they used to be. They're still a good team, but look at their past couple of games in the tournament. They beat Winthrop, who was a 12 seed. Then they beat North Texas, who was a 13 seed. Now they're going up against one of the best teams in the nation. So I don't think we're going to see the same type of performance that we saw from Villanova throughout the tournament. So I've got Baylor over Villanova on the spread minus 7.5. All right, who wants to go next?
Big Alex, you up, baby?
Okay.
And I know where he's going. I know where Alex is going.
Ooh.
Because I know Alex better than anybody in this group call. I know where he's going.
Oh, so he didn't leak you your picks.
No. He's either going with Villanova or Philly or the Sixers. One of the two. Let me know, Alex, if I'm right.
Just been training, jeez.
I'm going with a NHL pick.
Oh, I was wrong.
I am going to pick the money line for the Winnipeg Jets.
Ooh, no.
That's ballsy there, boy.
Who are the Jets playing?
Calgary.
The Calgary Flames, yeah. Jets, they've been an interesting team. They've been kind of in the rebuilding process. They traded away Patrick Laine, so they've been definitely kind of in the rebuilding, but that's definitely an interesting pick.
Mm-hmm.
I need to do another hockey pick again soon. So
Adam, you're 0-3 in hockey picks.
I'm 0-1. I only picked one hockey, and I lost that one. No, I only picked one hockey. I have it on record. My only pick was in the first episode. Oilers were the Senators. The Oilers won, but they didn't cover. So,
or David, David, you're up.
I'm going for Houston. On the spread against Syracuse.
I was actually thinking about that one.
I'm not sure how much for the spread. But
I believe the spread last time I checked was -8.
It's -6.5 right now.
Oh, -6.5.
I know that
right.
Because I'm actually betting on the same game.
Ooh, I was thinking that game too. I'm not going to tell you which way I was leaning for that game, but I will tell you when I was thinking about my bet, I was giving that game heavy consideration. So Dave's taking Houston over Syracuse on a spread -6.5. So, big boy Chris, it's your first honor bet in a while. Fire away. Don't hold anything back.
I'm picking Syracuse in that game on the money line. They will beat Houston on Saturday. Book it.
He's not even taking a trade. He's going. Now, here's the thing, Chris. Chris in the past has had the tendency to get greedy, and instead of taking the spread, which would be the easy pick, he's going all in on the money line, and that's
my man. Chris is going all the way.
But you know what? I like that about you, Chris. Are you sure about this? You're going money line?
Money line. Syracuse will win that game.
Oh man,
he's getting greedy. Greedy Chris.
Chris,
So
I'm
yeah,
surprised.
David
I'm
and Chris
surprised.
are definitely gonna be
On
definitely
Sunday,
gonna be
it's going to feel. Yo, somebody's going to be wrong
Nice.
on Sunday.
somebody's gonna be
It's the
wrong.
late game on Saturday. Ooh.
Somebody's going to be
Yeah,
happy.
game.
Somebody's going to
What are
be
you
sad.
saying,
You already
Alex?
know on Sunday. Somebody's going to be happy. Somebody's going to be sad.
Chris, I'm surprised you didn't go for the USC game.
All right. Now I'm
I
doing
thought
Marcellus.
we were picking that
All
game.
right. So
It's
Mike, are you
Marcellus'
gonna do
pick.
Marcellus' pick or yours first?
I always go last. I'm doing Marcellus' pick
All right,
first.
so do Marcellus' pick.
He is going to go for the Trailblazers over the Magic tomorrow by 2 points or more.
The Magic or the Mavericks? I couldn't hear you.
He's going over the Blazers over the Magic tomorrow.
All right.
That's what time it is, right? Y'all know what time it is.
All right. So Marcellus taking Trailblazers over the Magic. Spread or money line?
Spread.
All right. I got it down. So now we all right. Mike always brings the spice picks last, so Michael, take it away.
You know, me and my dad were thinking about it all week, all day long, going back and forth at each other, yelling at me all day. Decisions. Adam, what's my record?
You're 3-2.
Last time I picked the Jazz, they won.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I picked the Knicks, they screwed me. They screwed me. So, decision, boys. I said on record, when I play 2K, there's two teams I don't pick. The Utah Jazz and the Houston Rockets.
Pick the decision.
Big game decision, Big D. Big game decision. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know what? I'm going to go against my 2K move. Because in 2K, we go against the Utah Jazz. We never pick the Jazz. But today, I am picking the Jazz again to beat the Grizzlies by 2 or more, Daddy-O. We go in, and I'm being 4-2 next week with a bottle of champagne, Adam. 4-2. I am going with the Jazz over.
So, Michael, this is nothing I didn't expect you. You're riding with the Jazz 2 games in a row. But you know what? The Jazz got you a win last week. I don't blame you. So,
man, Donovan Mitchell's been on a hot streak. Mike Conley's beast.
Jazz blew out the Nets the other day.
Sure.
Like you guys saw it, but it was because like Katie, Kyrie, and Harden were all out. So
they had the book. See, you can't go wrong, man. Half my body is saying you don't pick the Jazz because I'm a Laker fan on the West. But you know what? You can call me crazy. Hit me, baby. One more time. We going with the Jazz this week. We going with the Jazz.
all right, so Michael's
Crazy
picking the
Mike
Jazz
got his
over Grizzlies
decision.
on the spread. So that's it. That's all for our picks this week. And to wrap up the show, Chris, it was awesome. It's awesome to have you back. I'm hoping that you're gonna be on for our next episode because this may be minor sports, but we are going to be doing heavy basketball talk. So I definitely want to get your thoughts on like you're our big college basketball expert on the podcast. So I definitely want to get all your because we've been talking a lot of college basketball like in our latest episode, and there's been so many stuff trying to turn that I wanted to talk to you about. So I'm definitely looking forward to our next episode.
Let's go. It'll be good.
Let's do it, boys.
All right.
Ladies-
Any final thoughts?
Yes, sir.
I just got to say, never bet against black. Enough said.
Facts, man. Facts. Never ever bet against facts. So that's it. This has been episode 6 of the Get Your Game On podcast with yours truly, Adam Grassani, Michael Cunningham, Alex Reich, David Heller, Chris Kier, and Marcellus Murdock. If you like what you heard, leave a like and follow or subscribe to the podcast. Also, if you want to join the conversation, drop a comment or review, and we may feature it in a future episode. Remember, my friends, don't assume your dreams are just fantasy. If you got magical world, believe in it and dive in. See you next time, and until then, stay lit.